something else helps too. A deep sense of committal to the job of reporting news.
The idea that what you write, what you find out about events and things that are happening today may influence people or at least shape their thinking about events, to me is important. If people are uninformed, how can they make reasonable decisions about my life, their lives, and the country itself? And it's as simple as that.
Can you work Saturday?
Overtime? Okay.
We got the parade down Woodward, Memorial Day parade. We also have the factors of the peace marching. They wanted to parade down Woodward and didn't get a permit. The city still might do something.
If there is a confrontation between, well, as we had in New York, between the hard hats and the anti-war kids, how do you want to cover this?
And let's make sure that we don't overemphasize any violence that may occur. Because, we get criticized for that, and violence always makes news, but let's be sure that it's kept in perspective unless we have real trouble.
On the face of it, it's just another peace march. But it can't be just another story. The reporter must find an approach that makes it come alive and have meaning for the reader. An approach that gets at both sides of the question. In this case, there was an obvious way to do it.
There were essentially two stories. I followed both of them. First, to ask the people who were there why they were there, in their own words. And then talk to the people along the parade route and ask them what they thought of this demonstration, of this spectacle. And weave those two together. It was a delightful contrast.
I think it's disgusting. I think the way they're going about this protest business is all wrong. Going down there shouting obscene language down the street. What kind of a protest is that? It's nothing.
You think they have the right to protest? Or?
Yeah, everybody's got a right to protest if they're if they know what they're talking about and know what is right and wrong, what is wrong.
So you don't think they know what they're doing?
I don't think any of them know what they're doing. They want to protest just to be protesting, that's all. Anything that comes up they want to protest about.
A Detroit news photographer. On many assignments, pictures are as important as words.
It sounds like a silly question, but why are you here?
Well, I'm here because I feel strongly that the war must end, and end now.
We're building a gas chamber for you!
Difference of opinion always makes for a good story, but a reporter must document it, not aggravate it. The risk is he may aggravate it without meaning to, just because he's there.
You put that communist flag down, traitor!
Taking no chances, he leaves the parade early to phone in his story.
Yeah, all set. And I war protesters staged their version of a Memorial Day parade. Yeah. Detroit News gives me a great deal of freedom in what I do. What I write goes in the way I write it. They'll back me up on it. There will be editing for style, for clarity, for accuracy. But the editors don't distort what I write and make it into something else. Some papers do this. Detroit News doesn't. We're accused of it, but it simply doesn't happen. So that I can maintain my own integrity, even though I may disagree personally, philosophically with some of the editors, because what I write, if it's fair and accurate, goes in the way I write it. And this is important for newspaper.
Variety of people and variety of opinion. That's Detroit. It holds true at the News as well. Men and women of all ages and races work together in all departments, reflecting a personnel policy that judges employees by performance only. It makes for a more responsive paper, closely attuned to the diverse city the News serves.
There's a kind of an excitement about working in the building at a newspaper.
Even though the work is routine, the environment and the atmosphere isn't.
I love the people here. Some of them are weird, but, you know, it makes the day funny.
You need it. You need the youth to liven the place up, and you need the age just to keep a firm hand if things get too radical.
As far as our staff is concerned, we try to have as representative staff as we can. For instance, like every other major newspaper, 25 years ago we had no black reporters. We now do.
Women, especially, have come into their own at the paper, both in the editorial and business areas. Some head up whole departments, like the women's section here. Recently, it was incorporated into the news department. Recognition of the growing significance of news events that interest women. Women have also invaded the traditionally male inner sanctum of the editorial board, writers of the paper's controversial editorial page. This is the place where the management of the news speaks out on current issues. Probably no other section of the paper draws such strong reaction, some of it complimentary, some of it highly critical from readers who disagree with its opinions.
The whole purpose of editorial writer is to be opinionated, otherwise they're not worth reading. This is the one page of the paper that's opinion and not fact.
But it must be restricted to the editorial page, and the reason this integrity must be preserved is we've got to give people the reasonable expectation that when they pick up our paper and look at a news story, they know that this, to the best of our ability, is an account of what happened.
Yeah, on our editorial page, it's our job to express our viewpoint, which should be accepted for just exactly what it is. It's our viewpoint and nobody else's. And we don't try to make ourselves popular on our editorial page. We try to state what we believe.
The thing is that you're not always right yourself, you know. When I look back over some of the editorials I've written in my 10 years on the news, there's some things that I said in 63, perhaps, or 65, that have been proved wrong. And I wish I hadn't said them, but damn it, if you're going to... nobody's got a crystal ball that can see 5 years ahead, so you're bound to be wrong in this business.
Do you think it's a paper should admit when it's wrong like that, or what do you think a paper should do?
Oh, I think it's a sound principle in retaining confidence of your supporters if you say, well, I put up a black here, I was wrong on that one. But, and then go on with, because you can't anticipate all the trends in this world. No one knows. When you come to think of it, 10 years ago, compare 60 with 70 and look at the state of the world. It's so changed so much that no one can see that far ahead.
One thing no one foresaw was the rebellion of a number of young people today against the establishment. An establishment represented by their elders, as well as institutions like the news.
Anyone who is working for the Detroit News is very much inside the establishment, and they're trying to write and relate to people who are really entirely outside of the establishment, and they can't do that.
To reach across the gap, the news has been angling many of its stories directly at Detroit's youth. The editor of the feature department makes a special point of it.
A newspaper's future is in its youth and in its youthful readers. And if we don't get the young reader to have respect for us and read us, then we stand a chance of not getting them when he is more along in years.
It seems to me that in this world, which today is so big and so complex and so exciting, that the role of the feature department, I really think, probably has its greatest challenge that it's ever had in the history of the newspaper business. Features once just used to be those things that you found in the back of the newspaper. But today, features really are the extras of the newspaper. And a newspaper's role with TV and with the way that communications go, it has more to do and a greater responsibility than just to present last night's news.
What we try to do is present a magazine that is viable. When we printed this story here, there was a great deal of discussion among the editors exactly where should we crop this picture. And we cropped it where you see we cropped it. Her behind did show. Now we expected a large reaction from this. We got one phone call from a creaky elderly lady, and she said she liked the article very much, but did we have to print those pictures? We say to a gal like that, this is life. This is where it's at. We think